Have you ever felt like the life you've built, the job, the relationships, the goals, suddenly started to feel empty? Like no matter how hard you try, something just doesn't seem right? You wake up every day, go through the motions, but deep down, you know something is missing. It's like you're living a life that isn't fully yours. Well, I've been there. And I want to share something with you today that might sound a little unsettling at first, but I promise it's the truth. The hardest thing you'll ever face on your spiritual journey is not the challenges outside of you, but the ones that rise up within you. It's the moment when the life you've worked so hard to create begins to crumble. It's when everything you thought you knew about yourself, your purpose, and your beliefs starts to feel like a lie. It's in that very moment of feeling lost and broken that true transformation can begin, but it doesn't come easy. What if I told you that this feeling of emptiness, this unsettling discomfort, might be the best thing that ever happened to you? What if this was actually a sign that you are on the verge of something deeper, something more real than anything you've experienced so far? The path to spiritual awakening isn't about finding the perfect version of yourself. It's about breaking through the masks you've worn for so long, confronting the truth about who you really are, and letting go of everything that's no longer serving your soul. It's not about comfort. It's about awakening to the raw, real truth that lives deep inside you. So, take a deep breath. Let go of the need to have it all figured out, and stay with me for the next few minutes. What we're about to uncover together might change everything you thought you knew about yourself, your life, and your purpose. There comes a point in every person's life when everything they've built begins to crumble. It's not a dramatic, life-altering event that shakes the foundation, but a quiet, subtle discomfort that grows over time. You feel it in the pit of your stomach, in those moments of silence when the distractions fade away. It's the nagging sense that what you've been chasing, success, recognition, achievement, somehow doesn't fulfill you like you thought it would. And here's the thing, you can ignore it, you can try to numb it with more busyness, more distractions, but eventually it catches up with you. This, my friends, is the beginning of your spiritual awakening. It's not something you choose, it's something that chooses you. The crisis of awakening often comes when we least expect it. One day, you wake up, and the life you've been living, the career you've poured yourself into, the relationships you've worked so hard to build, the dreams you've chased start to feel hollow. It's as if the very ground beneath you has started to shift, and nothing feels stable anymore. You start asking yourself, is this really it? Is this all there is? The comfort you once found in your routine, your success, your plans, suddenly doesn't satisfy you anymore. And this is where the crisis begins. It feels like a breaking free from something that no longer serves you, but also breaking within you. At first, it can feel like you're falling apart. The mask you've worn so long starts to crack. The identity you've spent your whole life building, carefully crafted and fine-tuned, begins to fade, and you're left standing in the wreckage, not knowing who you really are anymore. This isn't just a moment of doubt, it's a deeper shift, a soul-deep crisis, where the life you thought you were meant to live no longer aligns with the truth of who you are becoming. And while it may feel like loss, in reality, it is a necessary breaking. In the Bible, there's a verse that says, unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. That's the essence of awakening. The old self must die for the new self to emerge. This is not a gentle process. It's a crisis of the spirit, where what's been comfortable and familiar gives way to something that demands more from us, something deeper and truer. But here's the good news. This crisis is not the end, it's the beginning. Yes, it feels like a breaking, but it's a breaking that makes room for something new, something better, something real. When we let go of the illusions that we've built our lives upon, we create space for the truth of who we truly are to rise up. And while it may hurt, while it may feel like we're losing everything, it's in that very pain that the soul finds its strength. So, don't be afraid of this crisis. Don't resist it. I know it's not easy, but I promise you this is a necessary breaking It's the beginning of the most important transformation of your life. It's the moment when your soul finally has room to breathe. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's also sacred. And in that breaking, you will find the strength you need to rebuild your life, not based on falsehoods, but on the truth of who you are in Christ. This is the first step on the journey of awakening. And while it may feel like everything is falling apart, know this: the pieces that will rise from the ashes will be far more beautiful, more powerful, and more aligned with your true purpose than anything you could have ever built before. So let go and allow the breaking to do its work. It may hurt, but it's making room for something far greater than you've ever imagined. As we journey deeper into spiritual awakening, we encounter one of the hardest yet most transformative experiences: ego death. Now, I know the term ego death can sound a little daunting, even intimidating. It might seem like a heavy concept, something out of reach, or perhaps something to avoid. But let me tell you something: ego death is not an end. It's a passage. It's the price of rebirth, the necessary sacrifice for the emergence of your truest self. The ego, that sense of me that we so fiercely protect, is the persona we've spent our whole lives crafting. It's the face we show the world, the mask we wear to fit in, to succeed, to be liked, to be seen as good or worthy. It's built from all the things we believe about ourselves, both good and bad, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what we're capable of, and what we deserve. It's what gets us through life, gives us confidence, and helps us navigate the world. But here's the truth that often comes as a shock. Your ego isn't you. It's just a shell, a construct that's been built over time, and it's not the real you. It's the you that society shaped, the you that fear and survival shaped, but it's not the authentic soul you were created to be. And here's the kicker: spiritual awakening asks us to let that go. It asks us to let go of the very thing we've spent our whole lives protecting. It asks us to die to the false self so that the true self, the soul that's been waiting in the depths, can rise. And that, my friends, is no easy task. It feels like a kind of death, like a part of us is being torn away, something we've held on to for dear life, and it hurts. It's disorienting, it's uncomfortable, and sometimes it even feels like madness. But let me assure you, this is the necessary pain of rebirth. The thing is, the ego doesn't go quietly. It clings, it fights, it resists. It tells us that if we let go of this identity, this mask we've worn, we'll be lost. It makes us feel like we're dying. But here's the truth: we're not dying, we're being reborn. The ego has to die, but in its place, something far greater, far more authentic will take root. And that's where the real freedom lies. The freedom isn't in holding on to the old identity. The freedom is in surrendering that identity and allowing God's truth to reshape us. There's a quote from Carl Jung that perfectly captures this: "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And how true that is. The ego death isn't easy, but it is essential for growth. You cannot fully awaken while holding on to the false version of yourself. But here's the beauty of it: as the ego dies, something deeper begins to emerge. A true self that is aligned with God's purpose for your life. This isn't the self that's bound by fear, approval, or comparison. This is the self that is free to be who you were always meant to be, who you were created to be. The soul that was there all along, waiting for the right moment to be set free. This process of ego death is painful, yes, but it is also sacred. It's the process of shedding everything that isn't real, everything that's been built on lies or illusions. And in that shedding, we make room for something greater, something more real. It's like a snake shedding its skin. It might be uncomfortable at first, but it's necessary for the snake to grow. And while the process of ego death may feel like a loss, it's actually a gain. It's the gaining of a new perspective, a new identity, one that's rooted in truth rather than fear. It's the gaining of your true self. So, let go. Don't be afraid to face the death of the ego. It's not the end. It's the beginning of something far more powerful and authentic. You will rise, not as a better version of the old you, but as the true you. And in that true self, you will find peace, strength, and a connection to God that is deeper than you've ever known. Remember, the ego must die, but in its death, you will be reborn. And the life that awaits you on the other side is one that is more beautiful, more fulfilling, and more aligned with God's purpose than anything you've ever imagined. As we walk further down the path of spiritual awakening, something remarkable begins to happen. We start to notice that the world we once thought we knew begins to shift. The beliefs, the goals, the dreams that we once held so tightly, suddenly they don't fit anymore. They no longer bring us the fulfillment we once thought they would. It's like peeling back the layers of an old garment. At first, it feels freeing, but soon we realize that what we thought was our identity, our truth, was merely an illusion. And as that illusion unravels, we are left with a question: what is real? This unraveling of illusions is not easy. In fact, it's often painful. We've spent years, sometimes decades, building our lives around these false beliefs. Things like success equals happiness, wealth equals security, approval equals worth. But one by one, these illusions start to crack, and we find ourselves standing in the rubble, questioning everything we once believed. What's real? What's true? And who am I, really? The truth is, awakening isn't about finding new beliefs. It's about uncovering the truth that's always been there deep inside of us. It's about stripping away the layers of conditioning, the masks we've worn, and the false stories we've told ourselves. It's about facing the reality of who we are without all the noise and distractions that have kept us from seeing it. In the Bible, there's a verse in John 8:32 that says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." But here's the catch: the truth doesn't always feel freeing at first. Sometimes it feels like a punch to the gut. It's uncomfortable, it's unsettling. But what the truth does is it clears the fog. It forces us to see things as they really are, not as we wish they were. And once we see the truth, we can no longer go back to the way things were. That's why awakening feels like an unraveling. It's like pulling at the thread of a sweater you've worn for years, and as you pull, you realize the whole thing is falling apart. But what happens when that sweater unravels? It's not the end. In fact, it's the beginning of something new. The unraveling doesn't destroy us. It frees us from the lies we've been holding on to, and it makes space for the truth to emerge. The truth, however, isn't something that can be found outside of us. It's not in the books we read, the podcasts we listen to, or the opinions of others. The truth is found within us in the deep place of our soul, where God's voice speaks, where His purpose for us lies. But here's the challenge. To find that truth, we have to be willing to let go of everything that isn't real. We have to be willing to face the things we've been avoiding, the beliefs that no longer serve us, the stories that kept us safe but also kept us small. And here's the beauty of it: when we let go of those illusions, something amazing happens. We make room for the real us to emerge. The version of us that's not shaped by fear, not shaped by others' expectations, but shaped by the truth of who we are in Christ. We start to see ourselves clearly without the filters we've been using all our lives. We start to feel what it's like to walk in alignment with our true purpose, not because we're chasing something or trying to prove something, but because we are finally at peace with who we are. This process is not easy, and it's not quick, but it's worth it. It's worth every uncomfortable moment, every layer that gets peeled away, every illusion that falls apart. Because when the dust settles, we find that what's left is more beautiful, more authentic, and more aligned with God's will than anything we ever could have created on our own. So, as you walk this path of awakening, don't fear the unraveling. Don't fear the tearing away of what isn't real. Because in the end, what remains is the truth of who you are, and that truth will set you free. And when you finally stand in that truth, you'll realize that you've been searching for it all along. It was never lost. It was just waiting for you to see it. Now, as the illusions fall away, we're not left with nothing. We're left with everything we've ever needed: the truth, the peace, and the purpose that was always meant to be ours. And that truth is worth every bit of the unraveling it took to find it. As we continue on this journey of spiritual awakening, there's a part of the process that many of us tend to avoid, It's the part that, if we're being honest, we're terrified of facing. It's the part of ourselves that we've buried deep down because we don't want to acknowledge it. We might call it our shadow, the parts of us that we've been taught to reject, hide, or deny. The anger we suppress, the jealousy we ignore, the pain we refuse to confront. And yet, here's the thing. To fully awaken, we must confront this shadow. We must embrace the unseen parts of ourselves that we'd rather not see. Now, I know that may sound daunting. It's easy to think that spiritual awakening is about becoming better, becoming good, and leaving behind all the negative traits we associate with ourselves. But awakening isn't just about light, it's also about the darkness. It's about looking at the parts of ourselves that we've tried to ignore and realizing that they too are a part of us. And believe it or not, until we face those parts, we won't be able to truly experience the freedom that comes with awakening. The Bible talks about the importance of self-examination, about understanding ourselves deeply, knowing our strengths and weaknesses. It's a process of becoming whole, not by rejecting our flaws, but by embracing them, understanding them, and integrating them into our true self. The Apostle Paul says in Romans 7:18, "For I know that good itself does not dwell in me, that is, in my sinful nature." He acknowledges that there are parts of himself that he struggles with, parts that don't align with his best self. And yet, he doesn't run from those parts. He faces them. You see, our shadow isn't an enemy. It's a part of us that's been neglected, misunderstood, and cast aside. It's the parts of us that are wounded, the parts that learn to survive in unhealthy ways, the parts that we've been too afraid to confront. But here's the truth. The shadow is where our greatest opportunities for growth lie. The parts of us that we find most difficult to face are often the places where God wants to bring healing. When we choose to confront our shadow, we're not choosing to live in our darkness. We're choosing to shine light on it. We're choosing to understand it so that it no longer controls us. It's not about perfection. It's about authenticity. It's about being real with ourselves. And once we start to see these parts of ourselves, we can begin the process of healing. We don't need to be afraid of our weaknesses, our struggles, or our flaws. They're not what define us. What defines us is our willingness to confront them, to understand them, and to allow God to work through them. The journey of awakening asks us to do something hard, to welcome our shadow into the light. It asks us to stop running from the parts of ourselves that make us uncomfortable and to start embracing them with compassion. When we resist, that's when we stay stuck. But when we turn toward our shadow, when we invite it to the table, something incredible happens. We begin to heal. The anger we once suppressed starts to turn into understanding. The fear we tried to outrun transforms into courage. The jealousy we tried to hide becomes an opportunity for gratitude. And with each shadow we embrace, we become more whole. And it's not an easy process. It's not comfortable. But it is necessary. You can't fully awaken while running from the truth of who you are, even the parts you wish weren't there. But when you embrace your shadow, when you face the parts of yourself that feel too painful to touch, you allow God's light to shine through in ways you never thought possible. As you confront your shadow, I encourage you to do it with kindness and patience. Remember, this is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. But every time you face a part of yourself that you've been avoiding, you are stepping into a deeper level of freedom, a deeper level of truth. And the more you embrace the fullness of who you are, the more you will experience the peace that comes with knowing your true self. Not the perfected version, but the real, unpolished, whole version. And in that, you will find freedom. Not freedom from who you are, but freedom to be who you were always meant to be. As we journey further into spiritual awakening, we begin to realize something profound, yet often unsettling. The deeper we go, the quieter it becomes. The noise of the world, the constant distractions, the endless chatter, the busyness we've been so accustomed to, all starts to fade. And in its place, there is silence. At first, this silence might feel uncomfortable, even painful. It's like we're standing in an empty room. no longer surrounded by the noise that once filled every corner of our lives. We may even feel lonely, disconnected, and unsure of who we are without all that external noise. But what if I told you that this silence is not something to fear? What if I told you that this silence is not an absence, but an invitation, a sacred moment to meet yourself in the quiet and listen to what your soul is truly longing for? In the Bible, Jesus often withdrew to the wilderness, away from the noise of the crowds, to spend time alone with his Father. These moments of solitude were not moments of abandonment, but moments of deep communion, moments of growth and renewal. In the stillness, he found the clarity and strength he needed to carry out his purpose. And that, my friends, is what the silence of awakening offers us. It's a space where we can hear God's voice more clearly, where we can hear the truth that's been buried under the noise of life. In the quiet, we are invited to listen, to reflect, and to reconnect with the deepest parts of ourselves. But I'll be honest, this kind of silence is not always comfortable. At first, it may feel like a void, a space that makes us face the parts of ourselves we've been running from. The fears, the doubts, the insecurities we've kept hidden away now come to the surface, and the solitude can sometimes feel overwhelming. We may find ourselves asking, what if I'm not enough? What if I don't have the answers? What if I'm all alone in this? But here's the truth, you're not alone. This silence, this solitude, is not a sign of abandonment. It's the space where God works most profoundly. It's where the soul finds rest, where the heart is recalibrated, and where the clutter of the world fades so we can hear the gentle whisper of God's presence. In the silence, God is speaking. In the stillness, He is drawing near. Think of it like this. When you're in a loud, chaotic room, it's hard to hear anything. But when the noise fades away, even the softest sound becomes clear. That's what the silence of awakening does for us. It strips away the distractions and lets us hear the voice of God in a way we've never heard before. It's in this quiet place that we rediscover our true selves, not the version shaped by society or our circumstances, but the version God intended from the very beginning. And yes, it's uncomfortable at times. Yes, it may bring up feelings of loneliness or uncertainty, but I encourage you, don't run from it. Embrace the silence, embrace the solitude, because in this space, God is doing a deep work in you. It's where healing happens. It's where clarity is birthed. It's where the true direction for your life begins to unfold. And even in the midst of the silence, you will find a peace that the world cannot offer, a peace that passes all understanding. So, when you find yourself in those quiet moments, when the world around you slows down, take a deep breath and welcome it. Don't resist the solitude. Don't fear the silence. In fact, lean into it. Sit in the stillness and allow yourself to reconnect with the deepest part of who you are, because in that space, you'll find the strength you need to keep moving forward. You'll find the courage to face your fears, the wisdom to make decisions, and the peace that comes from knowing that God is right there with you. And once you've experienced this sacred silence, you'll never look at solitude the same way again. It won't feel like a void. It will feel like home, a place where your soul can rest, be renewed, and be prepared for what comes next. In the silence and solitude of awakening, we find the most important relationship of all, the relationship with our true self, the one God created us to be. As we continue this journey of spiritual awakening, there comes a moment, maybe it's already happened for you, when we are faced with a choice. It's not a choice that comes with loud proclamations or dramatic events. No, it's much more subtle than that. It's a quiet, almost imperceptible tug of war between comfort and truth. And here's the hard truth. Awakening requires us to leave the comfort zone behind. But that's the struggle, isn't it? We've spent our lives building a comfortable existence. We've carefully crafted a life that works, one that fits neatly into what we were told success, happiness, and security should look like. We've found our rhythm, and it feels safe. It feels predictable. And then suddenly the truth begins to pull at us, quietly at first. It asks us to examine the life we've built and question if it truly reflects who we are on the deepest level. In the Bible, there's a moment when Jesus tells his disciples, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." Luke 9:23. Now that's a pretty stark invitation. It's not about adding a little more comfort or making a few adjustments to our lifestyle. It's about choosing truth over convenience. It's about being willing to face the discomfort that comes with stepping into a new reality. And here's where we struggle. Our human nature tends to cling to what's comfortable, even if we know deep down that it's not fully aligned with the truth we're seeking. This is the essence of the spiritual struggle, the tension between what's easy and what's right. The tension between the life we've always known with its familiar patterns and guarantees and the call to step into something new, something unknown, something that requires us to let go of old ways of thinking, old ways of living. It's that internal battle where we're torn between the safety of the known and the pull of the unknown, where we know that the truth will set us free, but we also know that truth comes with a cost. I've seen it time and time again. People hear the call of truth, the call of awakening, and they start to move toward it. But as soon as things get uncomfortable, as soon as the familiar begins to crumble, they retreat. They return to what's comfortable, even though they know deep down that it's no longer serving them. It's easier to stay in the shallow end of life where things are predictable and safe than it is to dive into the deep waters where we risk everything for the sake of authenticity and purpose. And let's be honest, this isn't an easy decision. It's not a clear-cut choice where the truth always feels good or the discomfort always leads to immediate rewards. Sometimes it feels like walking into a storm. Sometimes it feels like you're losing control, like you're falling apart, like everything you thought you knew about yourself is being shaken to its core. But here's the thing, this spiritual struggle is not a battle against the world outside of you, it's a battle within. It's a struggle between the comfortable version of yourself that's been shaped by fear, by the expectations of others, by the need for approval, and the truest version of yourself that's being called to step into the light, even if it means leaving behind everything you've known. But here's the truth that I want you to hold on to. The struggle is worth it. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's challenging. But when you choose truth over comfort, when you choose authenticity over approval, you step into a life that's far more meaningful, far more aligned with who you were truly created to be. The truth will set you free, but it will first make you uncomfortable. It will shake you, rattle you, and challenge everything you thought you knew. But on the other side of that struggle, you'll find a peace and freedom that surpasses anything comfort could ever provide. So, if you're in that place of struggle right now, if you're feeling torn between holding on to what's safe and stepping into something new, I want to encourage you, don't be afraid to choose truth. Don't be afraid to step out of the comfort zone, even if it feels like you're walking into the unknown. Because the truth you're searching for is worth every ounce of discomfort. The life that's waiting for you on the other side of this struggle is more beautiful, more fulfilling, and more aligned with your true purpose than anything comfort could ever give you. The spiritual journey is not about finding a path of least resistance. It's about finding a path that aligns with your soul, even if that path is difficult, even if it requires sacrifice. And I promise you, when you choose truth, when you choose to step into the fullness of who you are, you will look back and realize that the struggle was the most beautiful thing that ever happened to you. As we journey further into spiritual awakening, one of the hardest yet most transformative steps we face is the act of letting go. It sounds simple, doesn't it? Let go. Just let go. But the truth is, letting go is not as easy as it sounds, especially when what we're being asked to release is something we've held onto for so long, something we've believed was a part of us, something we thought was essential to our survival. You see, we spend so much of our lives clinging to things, our identities, our plans, our expectations, our fears. These are the things that shape who we are, at least on the surface. But the deeper we go in awakening, the more we realize that much of what we've been holding on to is not actually what's best for us. It's like holding on to a life raft when we've already reached the shore. We keep gripping onto old stories, old fears, and old habits because they feel safe, because they give us the illusion of control. But here's the hard truth. Holding on to these things doesn't keep us safe, it keeps us stuck. The Bible talks about this kind of surrender in a powerful way. Jesus says in Matthew 16:25, whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. That's a paradox, isn't it? Losing to find, letting go to gain. And yet, it's the essence of the spiritual journey. We must let go of the old, the comfortable, the familiar, to make room for the new, the real, the transformative. Letting go isn't about losing something, it's about gaining something far more precious, freedom. When we let go, we stop fighting for control. We stop trying to force outcomes. We stop holding on to identities that never truly fit us. We stop allowing our past to define our future. And in that moment of surrender, something miraculous happens. We find freedom. The freedom to be who we were always meant to be, not who we were forced to become. The freedom to trust that, even when we don't have all the answers, God is leading us to exactly where we need to be. Now, I know that letting go can feel like giving up, like losing everything you've worked so hard for. I've felt it too, the fear of releasing control, the fear of walking into the unknown. But here's the beauty of it. When you surrender, you don't lose your strength. You don't lose your purpose. In fact, you gain strength, you gain purpose, because you're no longer relying on your own limited understanding. You're trusting that God's plan is greater than anything you could have imagined for yourself. You're trusting that His timing is perfect, even when it doesn't align with your own. Surrender isn't about weakness, it's about trusting. It's about saying, God, I don't have all the answers, but I trust you. I don't know how this will unfold, but I trust that you're leading me exactly where I need to go. And when we surrender in that way, it brings an inner peace that the world can't give us. It allows us to stop struggling, stop fighting, and simply rest in the assurance that we are not in control, but God is. You may be asking, how do I surrender? How do I let go of things that have been so deeply ingrained in me? And the answer is simple, but not always easy, one step at a time. Start by acknowledging what you need to release. It could be an old fear, a toxic relationship, a dream that no longer serves you, or a part of yourself that you've been holding on to out of fear or pride. And once you acknowledge it, take a deep breath and offer it to God. Say, I release this into your hands. I trust you with it. I trust you with me. As you take each step of surrender, you'll begin to feel the weight lifting off your shoulders. The burden of trying to control everything will start to fade, and you'll experience the freedom of living without the pressure of having to have it all figured out. And in that freedom, you will find peace. You will find joy. You will find a deeper connection to God, because when we let go, we make space for Him to work in us and through us in ways we never thought possible. The truth is, letting go is not a loss, it's a gain. It's the gain of freedom, of peace, of trust, of a deeper relationship with God. So I invite you to let go today. Let go of the things that have held you back. Let go of the burdens you were never meant to carry. Let go of the illusion of control and surrender to the life that God is inviting you into, a life of freedom, purpose, and grace. And as you do, you will discover that in letting go, you have actually found everything you've been searching for all along. The freedom that comes in surrender is the greatest gift you can ever receive. After everything we've experienced, the breaking, the letting go, the confronting of our shadows, there comes a moment, a turning point, when we realize something profound. We're not who we used to be. We've been through the fire, and though it was painful, something new has emerged from the ashes. This is the moment of rebirth, the moment when the old self dies and the true self begins to rise. It's not a transformation that happens overnight, but it's a process, a sacred journey toward becoming the person we were always meant to be. And let me tell you something important. Rebirth doesn't mean becoming a perfect version of yourself. It's not about leaving behind your flaws or imperfections. No, rebirth is about becoming real It's about shedding the false identities, the masks, the personas that we've worn for so long, and stepping into the raw, unpolished, beautiful truth of who we truly are. It's about embracing the parts of us that have been hidden away, the parts we've kept buried because we were afraid they weren't good enough. And as we embrace these parts, we step into a life of authenticity, a life that isn't shaped by others' expectations, but by the truth of who we are in Christ. You know, we've all been there. We've all spent time trying to be someone we're not, trying to meet other people's standards, trying to fit into a mold that was never meant for us. It's easy to get caught up in the lie that we have to be perfect, that we have to have it all together. But here's the thing. True authenticity isn't about perfection. It's about vulnerability. It's about being willing to stand before the world and say, this is me, this is who I am, flaws and all. And when we do that, when we stop pretending to be something we're not, we discover a freedom we've never known before. The Apostle Paul, in his letter to the Corinthians, talks about how we are all being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory. That's the journey we're on, the journey of being transformed into the image of Christ. Not a perfect version of ourselves, but the version that was always meant to be. We don't become who we were meant to be by pretending to be someone we're not. We become who we were meant to be by being real, by allowing ourselves to be molded, shaped, and refined by God's love. And here's the beauty of it. When we embrace authenticity, we begin to attract the right things into our lives. We begin to attract relationships that are built on truth, not on false pretenses. We attract opportunities that align with our true calling, not with the image we've created to fit in. And most importantly, we begin to feel a deep sense of peace and contentment because we are no longer trying to live up to someone else's standards. We are living in the truth of who God created us to be. Now, I know it's not easy. The world often tells us that authenticity means weakness, that it means we're too vulnerable, too open, but that's a lie. Authenticity is strength. It takes courage to stand in your truth, to be real when the world wants you to be something else. It takes strength to walk the path of rebirth, knowing that the old you may have to die for the new you to emerge. But that's the beauty of rebirth. It's the process of becoming who you were always meant to be, the person God created you to be before the world told you who to become. So, as you continue on this journey, I want to encourage you to embrace your authenticity. Don't be afraid to show up as the real you. Don't be afraid to let go of the old versions of yourself that no longer serve you. Trust that as you walk this path of rebirth, you are becoming more aligned with your true purpose, more aligned with God's will for your life. And in that alignment, you will find peace, joy, and fulfillment like you've never known before. Rebirth is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of a new chapter. It's the moment when you step into the fullness of who you are, not as a perfect person, but as a person who is real, authentic, and deeply loved by God. And that, my friends, is where true freedom lies. When we step into our authentic selves, we step into the life that God has always had planned for us, and that life is more beautiful than anything we could have ever imagined. As we continue on this spiritual journey, there's something we all must face: the wilderness. And I don't mean a physical wilderness, though many of us may have had moments where we felt like we were wandering in the desert. No, this wilderness is the inner space we enter when everything we thought we knew about ourselves begins to fall apart. It's the place of uncertainty, where the old life fades away and the new hasn't quite taken root. It's the in-between, the space where we feel lost, unsure, and sometimes even abandoned. But here's the thing about the wilderness: it's not a place of punishment, it's a place of purification. It's in the wilderness that we find the peace we've been searching for, the peace that's deeper than anything the world can offer. When the Israelites wandered in the desert, they didn't know where they were going, they didn't know what the future held, and they certainly didn't understand why they were there. Yet, it was in that wilderness that God showed up in ways they never expected. He provided manna from heaven. He parted the Red Sea. He guided them with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. They were in the wilderness, yes, but they were never alone. And that's the lesson for us. Even in the wilderness of awakening, God is right there with us. In the wilderness, we are stripped of everything we thought was important. The distractions, the comforts, the identities we've built for ourselves, they all fall away. We are left with nothing but the raw truth of who we are. And at first it's overwhelming. It's uncomfortable. It feels like we're walking in circles, unsure of what's next. But here's what we often miss. It's in the wilderness that we learn to find peace, not by avoiding the discomfort, but by leaning into it. It's easy to want to rush through the wilderness, to pray for the storm to pass quickly, to try to make sense of the chaos, but sometimes the greatest gift God offers us in these times is simply His presence. Peace in the wilderness doesn't come from understanding the journey, it comes from trusting the one who is leading us through it. When we learn to trust God in the unknown, when we stop fighting the wilderness and start leaning into it, we find a peace that transcends our circumstances. I've seen it in my own life. There have been seasons when I've felt like I was wandering, unsure of my purpose, uncertain of what the future held, and in those moments, I felt lost. But what I've learned is that it's in those very seasons of uncertainty that God speaks the clearest. It's when we let go of our need for control, our need to understand every step, and simply trust Him, that we begin to experience peace in ways we never thought possible. And here's the beautiful thing, when we learn to find peace in the wilderness, we're not just surviving, we're being shaped, we're being refined. God uses these times of hardship, these moments of feeling lost, to prepare us for something greater. The wilderness is not a detour, it's a divine appointment. It's where we are made whole, where we are taught to rely on God alone, where we are made ready for the purpose He has for us. So, if you're in the wilderness today, if you feel like you're walking through a dry and barren land, unsure of what's next, take heart. You are not alone. God is with you just as He was with the Israelites in their journey. His presence is your peace. His guidance is your direction. And though you may not see the way forward clearly right now, trust that He is leading you step by step towards something far greater than you can imagine. And as you walk through this wilderness, let it be a place where you learn to rest in His peace. Don't rush to escape the discomfort. Don't fight the process. Lean into the stillness and know that it is in the wilderness that you are being prepared for something far more beautiful on the other side. The wilderness doesn't last forever, but the peace you find in it will carry you through to the other side, to the place where your true purpose will be revealed. As we come to the end of this journey today, I want you to hold on to something powerful. You've heard about the breaking, the letting go, the wilderness, and the rebirth. But I want to leave you with this truth. When your soul aligns with truth, nothing can break you. Yes, you will face challenges. Yes, the road will sometimes be rocky, and there will be moments when you feel like you can't go any further. But when your soul is rooted in truth, when you stand firm in who God says you are, there is nothing that can shake you. I want to remind you of something. The greatest strength you will ever find is not in your ability to control everything, but in your willingness to surrender to the truth of who you are and who God is. So many of us spend our lives striving, pushing, trying to make everything fit together just the way we want it. We chase after success, approval, and security, thinking that if we just have those things, we'll finally be unshakable. But the truth is, those things can all crumble in an instant. What holds you steady, what keeps you grounded, is the strength of your soul when it is aligned with the truth of God's purpose for your life. Think about it. When you stand in your truth, when you embrace the authentic version of yourself, flaws, struggles, and all, you begin to realize that you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to live up to the expectations of others or wear masks to fit in. In the light of God's love, you are already enough. You are already worthy. And when you begin to live from this place of alignment with truth, you begin to walk with a strength that isn't dependent on your circumstances. It's a strength that comes from the inside out, a strength that comes from knowing you are held in God's hands no matter what comes your way. You see, when you align your life with God's truth, everything changes. The storms may come, the challenges may arise, but you will stand firm. Just like the Apostle Paul, who wrote in 2 Corinthians 4:8-9, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. Paul understood this strength. He understood that when we are grounded in God's truth, we are unshakable, even when life tries to knock us down. This is the unbreakable strength that you are invited to walk in. It's not a strength that comes from your own efforts or your own ability to control life. It's a strength that comes from surrendering to the truth, from letting go of everything that doesn't serve your soul, and from trusting that God has a purpose and a plan for you. This truth is your foundation. And when you build your life on it, no storm, no hardship, no trial can destroy you. And let me tell you, this strength isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. When your soul is aligned with the truth, you begin to thrive even in the hardest of times. You begin to experience peace that passes all understanding, joy that can't be shaken, and love that overflows. This is the strength of a soul that is anchored in the truth of God's promises. So, no matter what you're facing today, remember this: you are unbreakable when you are aligned with God's truth. Your circumstances may shift, your plans may change, but you are held in the hands of a loving God who will never let you go. And that, my friend, is the kind of strength that will carry you through every season of life. Stand firm in that truth. Walk in that truth. And you will see that you are stronger than you ever knew, because you are standing on the unshakable foundation of God's love.